And it just
Should I start it from the top?
Yeah, started from the top.
From the top.
Yeah, started
Okay.
from the top.
Like it's an intro.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she said, not the Dojo podcast saying Basotho aren't forthcoming about teaching South African Sotho folk everything about Sesotho, le Basotho or being Mosotho. First of all, the onus is on you to take initiative and being relentless in the pursuit of learning about your roots.
That's where I disagree, but Jalapi.
The onus is on you to take initiative and being relentless in the pursuit of learning about your roots.
Is the onus on me though? Is the onus on me?
Yes.
But look at any other traditional culture. The knowledge is there, B. The knowledge it's already
But
there.
that doesn't speak to the onus. It speaks to the responsibility.
Yes.
So where
You must still take
The onus speaks to the accountability,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily the same thing.
the same thing.
Yeah. So your parents are responsible for teaching you, but you're accountable for the knowledge that you consume, and in how you apply it, and in how you, and like within your being and identity.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's gonna have to answer for it. We're not gonna go to your father and say, "Mana wausa kutangwana 1, 2, and 3." So he's responsible, but you're accountable.
Alright. Okay. Alright. I hear you.
Secondly, you can't pick and choose when it's convenient for you or what you want to learn and embrace about your historical, cultural, and linguistic origins. You only want to pick the parts that make you seem cool or edgy, like wearing a blanket le mokorotlo.
True.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I agree
We
with
pick and
that.
choose. We pick and choose.
I agree with that.
Which other parts?
Yeah.
Which parts do we shy away from?
Share from.
Let's say, for example, as the relevant, let's say nkataba le bollo,
Sure.
which is very sacred if you are a Mosotho man, or very important, right? To say there in any identity politics or constructs, people are always gonna tend to go for the low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Like she's saying, the cool thing about. So that's why Basotho, they always feel like there's more to us than
Go. Sure.
You know, what's about who you talk.
Sure.
What's about the Tolobonya? What's about, like, there's a whole lot to be Mosotho than just the fashion.
But there's still a whole lot more to be Mosotho than Lobolo.
Of course, yes. I mean, yes.
And Mosotho can and does exist without Lobolo.
Word.
Which is a practice that I personally do not endorse.
Word. But I thought where we were coming from in LA, where you have found yourself or now you want to learn, and then now there's apprehension in the teaching. So when I'm saying now I have it, maybe
Now
it took
I
me a
have
while.
it,
I'm here, and I want to learn.
Yes.
And then what we have found sometimes is that there's apprehension then to teach you.
Yeah, because you know, a person that's trying to follow his tradition or heritage or ethnicity, alemong, right? It's not necessarily an invitation to you to come and correct him, because he's not asking for help. You know, the man in which I or the manner in which I talk or the manner in which he speaks, you know, he's not inviting you to come and teach him.
And he's then he can be offensive from a distance.
Do you understand?
So okay, that's why they would read.
Yeah, I think
ridicule.
maybe what she said here is that, like, she's conflating how wrongly, you know, people that consider themselves Basotho display our cultural practices, right? And you know, she's conflating that with those of us who
genuinely want to
and purposefully want to learn. Yeah,
sure.
I think maybe because I mean, there's a lot of wrong that's happening.
Of course.
But you can't all like pull this into one
category
and say all of us are looking to learn.
Yeah.
Some of us really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, we know what we know. Re apara ka mokgwa e re aparang ka kobela teng.
Sure.
Right? So you can't look at those people and put me next to him. Because him and I are not the same.
Yeah. Because in that Kimona and I'm trying to learn Unalomo who doesn't give a fuck, we can fail. Why one?
I could be wrong though, but that's what I'm picking up from this.
Sure.
Right? Okay. Anyways.
So
Thirdly, you don't even identify as Basotho. It's always I'm Sotho or I speak Sotho. Like, what is that?
No, I identify as Mosotho.
So I disagree with that.
Then I decided. That was the part that I found.
Not in what she's saying. Well, maybe a bit, but
As if we separate ourselves from Basotho ba Lesotho.
but in my saying that I'm Sotho or I speak Sotho, right? It's not an attempt to separate myself from the people that are pedantic about calling themselves Basotho or
Basotho
Mosotho.
or Mosotho,
You understand? If I say Sotho, I'll never be speaking Sesotho, ne? Ke be ke re mona nna ke bua Sotho. I'll never say that.
That's
Yeah,
inferred when
no.
you're speaking the
I'll
language.
Yeah.
never say
You only
ke bua ka
explain
Sesotho ke re mona ba mpotsa re mona puo ya hone ke eng? Ke re no, puo ya heso ke Sotho.
Sotho.
No, ke tlo puo ya heso ke Sesotho. Ba re mona wena o moeng ke re ke tlo
Mosotho.
ke tlo re ke
Mosotho.
Mosotho. Ba re mona heno le baeng ke re no re tlo re
Basotho.
ne. E re ha ke bua le lekgowa, ha ke bua le lekgowa ke bua English. You know, what language do you speak? I'm going to say I speak Sotho. That's
You
what I'm going to
explain it-
say.
yeah, you
And
explain
to
from
me,
the languages,
to me, it's nothing that is as deep as the way that they perceive it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they perceive it as something that is entirely wrong, like as if it's meant to separate us between.
Yeah, and I didn't
And
know
then-
that was the perception
It's,
too.
it's a point of contention. I've heard it. I've seen it a lot.
I
Right?
haven't seen-
where they feel like you can't say
You are Sotho.
you are Sotho, right? But the only time we use Sotho, especially rona Mafrikatata, is when we are speaking English. That is the only time we ever use those words.
Word.
Right? It's not to separate us from.
and it's
But
never
by
to
Lesotho.
separate.
Yeah, but
I've never used it in
yeah,
that context.
They catch offense at it. A point for which I quite frankly don't give a fuck. You know, but that's where I comprehend it. Wabo. Or no, I'm a Mosotho man, you know, I speak Sesotho, okay, whatever. But then it's like when you say, Ule Xhosa, you know, no, I speak Xhosa. I speak Xhosa, you know. Like, rarely do you hear someone say, I speak Xhosa.
It's course.
Rarely do you hear somebody
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
I speak
yeah.
Zulu.
Yeah.
I speak Pedi, I speak Zulu.
Yeah, especially
know,
how we bua.
They're not going to say I
also
speak
we bua
Zulu,
English,
right?
Yeah.
But Basotho are so fucking
pedantic about that
this shit, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, which to me, I feel like it is unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's something that they feel strongly about.
About.
I'm not going to begrudge it off them, but I don't particularly care about
Yeah.
it.
In fact, following on her comments and that episode, it is worthwhile maybe to have a Mosotho in,
Of course,
and have a very
of course.
nuanced conversation
about it. I didn't know hore there was that. I always sense hore bona, especially from back home, ho no na le sense eno ya hore I could sense hore ho na le ho shebela fatshe le, you know, Sesotho sa rona from Free State or whatnot. But now when I say hore I know Kim Sotho or whatever or Sotho or what, it never came from a point of trying to separate myself from
or inferiority.
yeah,
complex.
or inferior. Like,
So
yeah,
if
there was never
anything-
that.
if
There was never
anything-
that.
If anything, even though she phrases it as if it's something that we use to separate ourselves from them, but if anything, actually, they are using that
To separate themselves.
from
yeah,
Basotho,
to separate
South
themselves
Africa.
from us.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I
Yeah,
see.
because how can you call yourself so clearly you're not real? So I'm
Yeah.
not, like the amount of regard that I afford you is not.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, man. Let's carry on. Is there more?
I just want to think about where else in the world do we do that. You know, if you're saying that I speak Japanese,
But you're not.
I highly doubt that the Japanese people call their language Japanese. I don't know.
Yes, yes.
But Libana, they have dialects, Anke. Different dialects.
Different dialects.
Yeah.
Like I'm just wondering, like where else in the world is there like this
This-
sort of contention over something like this?
Yeah, this phenomenon.
I had it's an unstructured thought that I have in my head. I know with Israel, they've got a policy where Israel is seen as the birthplace or the headquarters or the reference points or the spiritual home of Hebrews. So I don't know if you've heard of that concept already. Jews are always welcome and allowed to be almost automatic citizens of Israel. It doesn't matter where they're from.
As long as you're a Jew.
Yes, as long as you are Jewish.
Because it's a Jewish holy
Yes.
land.
So I feel like I would wish there was something like that about Lesotho and Basotho, irrespective of Oromosotho guy.
Okay.
So I think hangata ka Basotho, there almost is a inferiority and superiority complex politics that comes into play, whereby you are seen as Sotho light. So, le bona ha ba re bona, it's like when we claim Sotho, it's like they feel like, nah,
See,
nigga,
he
you
just,
Sotho light.
he just said Sotho.
Yes.
You know, because he's speaking.
Yeah,
He's
or
not gonna
so
say
that-
when we
Sisotho.
claim Basotho.
Yeah.
or Sisotho.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds out of place.
It just
bro. Like,
flows.
But
bro.
I think there's a sense that sometimes re na le ntho ena ya hore ebe kare Mosotho ya sa tsweng Lesotho ha se Mosotho
the way.
the way.
That's 100%.
Then there was another thought that I had about it as well, was because we're discussing it from a country that's deeply traditional, in a sense how there's still traditional village, rural values. It almost reminds me of when you have an uncle and you're already living in the urban areas, and the sense of importance that he feels he holds in the family, but because of urbanization, you find that we've moved a particular way. So his safest place, where he's got the biggest power and strength, is always dragging you back to
To the rural, to back
Thabo,
home.
ha re hlabe tjena, ha re etse tjena. Not that maybe he is wrong, it's just that maybe the way that life has progressed, he also doesn't want to see the ground. What's about I understand the little Gauteng. I don't have to be so pedantic about this.
About certain things.
About certain things.
About certain things. Not all.
and you know the funny thing, and it's something that I've learned recently, is that even people like Dingle, or at least the people that we know from Lesotho, you know, that are, if I may call, affluent,
Yeah.
you know,
Cosmopolitan.
for lack of a better description,
yeah.
you know,
Urban,
urban, yeah. I've heard stories of how they even looked down upon by Basotho from rural Lesotho area.
themselves.
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 Because they're like a hybrid, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they
because
they're
Batswa's
more
Khouweng.
modern.
That's what's going.
But that's Khouweng. So they've been on the receiving end of this treatment
Of what they dished
in their own country.
Yes.
Oh,
We are
word?
just facing the worst branch of it.
Yeah, I
Right?
didn't know
But
that.
just like how here you'll be called coconut.
Coconut, sure.
Majidakasi, you know,
Sure,
of course.
sure.
And also, I feel like they're Nkaring. Number one, I feel like the disgruntlement comes from, or predominantly comes from, these urban kids. These urban cosmopolitan, affluent,
Basotho.
Jordan rocking,
Like rocking, yeah.
Laker throwback wearing,
International flying.
international studying,
Diplomatic
Maseru kids,
Sure. Sure.
articulate.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Those
see
are
our
these
niggas.
are us. These are
Yeah,
people on A.
yeah.
But for some reason, because of that heritage thing, it sort of makes them feel like they
They
Have an edge.
An edge.
they have some
above
sort
us.
of edge,
Yeah.
you know, A.
Traditionally.
But I think that the Basotho sense of nationalism comes mainly, or is driven mainly by their history. And their history is twofold. It's one of pride because of what King Mushweshwe accomplished,
Word. Which is amazing.
right?
Amazing, yeah.
Which is amazing.
And the other part is based on victimization, right? Based on how much they lost, right?
And they lost a lot.
And how much they had to cede
And
just
they lost
to keep,
us, free staters.
Yeah. They
and,
lost
just,
a
and
lot.
just how much they had to cede to keep
The kingdom.
the
Yeah.
little kingdom that it is today
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by little, we don't mean disrespectfully.
Yeah.
We mean size.
Size, yeah.
You know, so I'm proud. I'm proud of what, you know, this man has been able to achieve for the greater good of what we now call ourselves or refer
Basotho.
to as Basotho. You know, we through diplomacy,
Yeah.
you know, and
Unconquer-
smarts
Yeah.
and cunningness.
He was able to remain autonomous, you know.
we were able to build a large, you know, kingdom. You know, but with the arrival of the Boers and the English,
Who
Anglo-Boer War, we ended up having to
Cede
lose
something.
so much of our territory. You know, and because of that, we then had to cede our land to the British to make it a protectorate, so that
Yeah.
no more of this can happen. So what we have left now, we are so protective over it, when even to the extent that even talks about amalgamation with South Africa are met with
Oh,
the
yeah,
utmost hostility.
Hostility. Yeah.
Disdain.
It's like, fuck that. Fuck that.
You understand? And I think that's where it comes from. I don't think it's born out of simple Basotho heritage pride.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
think it comes from that. Like I would liken them to, is it North or South Korea? Who's Kim Jong-un?
North.
North Korea,
North,
right?
yeah.
So when you look at when you look at the Koreans, because Manganga Anu don't come from the fact that I'm merely Korean. It doesn't come from that. It comes from historical injustices, right? So when you look at where Korea is now, Korea is sort of like an off branch from mainland China, right? And on the other side of Korea is Japan. Japan and China have been at war for centuries.
For the longest time.
Right? When Japan needs to get to China, where do they have to go through?
Gotta go through
Korea.
Korea.
When China has to go to Japan, where do they have to go through? Korea. Right? So Korea has always been caught
In the middle.
in the crossfire between these two nations.
When they are warring, yes.
Right? To the point that Korea was actually a vassal of China, where many of the troops, the military, the soldiers there,
They set
were
up
actually
base there.
fighting for the Chinese
Government.
imperial.
Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the people who were dying in this war
The people who were dying in the
Koreans.
war were Korean.
Yeah.
You know, we were always being sent to the front line to go and fight the war and settle the disputes between you and the Japs. You know, they're always in the middle. They're the ones in the camps. They're the ones that are dying. The atrocities are happening on Korean soil.
Land. Yeah, yeah.
So as time progresses,
So Mangangana
they feel like something like this will
Should
never
never
ever
happen.
happen to us again.
Yeah.
That's why I got a nuclear arsenal now, and
Yeah.
everybody that wants to fuck with me,
I'm burning everything down. Okay, that's why you can't fuck with them
Yeah.
leaders. As poor as that
that's
country is.
where that thing comes from.
Yeah.
And that's what I like in, obviously not to the extreme,
Yeah.
Yes.
but that's what I like in
The same.
Basotho from
Yeah, the
Lesotho.
sentiment.
The sentiment is nearly the same.
I was kind of thinking about whether Botswana have a similar issue, because
Botswana,
Botswana
le-
versus
le-
Baba Hiking or Northwest type of thing.
Sure.
I wonder if they have. the
I've heard that there is.
I think that,
similar.
I think
Yeah,
that
I've heard that there is.
there is. I think there is noticeably.
But it's not as pronounced as ours. Though.
Yes, I was wondering, or is it that?
Ke ipotsa. Me Botswana ba ka re tjhaela hore
Botswana. Yeah, I don't know like how
Motswana
deep.
wa Mafikeng,
how deep it runs.
Motswana wa Botswana, and how those dynamics.
But anyhow,
Yeah.
And then she continued.
fourth, you want to experience and embrace the Basotho culture in a watered-down South African context.
Hey, watered down.
You see, can you hear the
watered-
condensation?
Watered down.
Can you
man.
hear the condensation?
Jesus.
Right.
Jesus.
Oh, am I the only one that?
I hear it, bro.
Can you hear the condensation?
Jesus.
But I'm not beefing, right?
No, there's no.
Right.
It's critique, my nigga. It's
Right, right.
critique, and like I said, the tone is on topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth, you want to experience and embrace the Basotho culture in a watered-down South African context, especially in speaking the language. It's so disrespectful. That's why we always differentiate ourselves from you and make it a point to let you know we are not the same. You see, it goes back to what I just said.
you just said
It's not
it.
us trying to separate
Yeah,
ourselves.
ke bona,
They
ke bona.
deliberately trying to
To
make
sep-
sure that Hagelona,
Yeah.
you are not us.
Yeah. Oh, but that's okay. The sense was always. I've always sensed it from them. Okay, there's always a distinct push to separate themselves from us. And when our language, when we say okay, I kim Mosotho ke Sotho, it was never a push for separation. It's never a push for separation.
Especially in speaking the language. So it goes back to the conversation that we had the other time to say how important is language in
Culture and modern progressive.
in cultural
yeah, yeah.
identity. And I think we were at odds about that.
Yeah, we were at odds about that. Yeah, but it seems for them it's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I feel it's also important. I honestly do wish that I spoke better Sesotho or better
I
Sotho.
feel it's not that important.
I don't feel that. Listen, I would want to, right? But because of how I grew up, bro, it just made it difficult.
I just think from a I think language, when it comes to culture or identity, it is the simplest way that you can tell, or I can tell how you speak, you are colored from, or I can tell right? It's the easiest identifier of identity, right? I still don't feel that it trumps traditional practice, right? So a lot of times that then we attach importance to what's more tangible. So, and I've used this example before. Look at the most powerful of societies, right? If you look at Muslims, for example, Muslims in South Africa will say, our home language is English. It's not Arabic. Even though
A lot of them,
even though
a lot of them can't speak Arabic.
even though Islam is centered or grounded very much in Arabic, in terms of certain prayers and stuff like that, what is more important is that I do pray X number of times a day. I do go to mosque.
So the practice is
The
more.
practice. You look at Jews. Jews is the same thing. So Jews, they can speak English, they can speak Hebrew, but they haven't attached so much importance on Hebrew.
the language.
But you see, it goes back to nationalism. So what they will say is that every Jewish person is allowed to be a citizen, or they've got preferential treatment when they go to Israel because of nationalism. I think, yes, I'm not saying language is not important. I'm saying it's just that when you lose something, language is the easiest thing that you can identify more I'm losing.
And I think that there could and might have been something to gain by galvanizing all of the ostracized Basotho or Sotho people. And by ostracized, I mean those that ended up in the Free State. Instead of trying to prove so hard and so vehemently that we were not one with you, what you actually should have been doing is trying to bring us closer so that the strength in numbers is able to at least achieve some sort of, I don't know, political achievement or land ceding.
Imagine if
or-
Lesotho said, if Olumosotho, even from South Africa, you've got dual citizen.
You could?
If
You have dual
but
citizenship.
If Lesotho would say, could pass a law that says, if Olumosotho was South Africa, you have automatic dual citizen into Lesotho.
Yeah.
Then, like for me, for example,
Yeah,
my father is originally from Lesotho, right?
And so is my
Right? Now, I could find an incentive.
Back home.
Do you know what I mean?
You could start businesses
Yeah,
back
like
home.
if we were to flip this thing on its head, because I think another contestation.
I can even bring economic opportunity
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, you can, because now you have.
You see, that,
Because there's really nothing, and I don't mean this in any kind of offense, right? There's very little, just given the political makeup
of the country.
of the country, there's very little that I stand to gain from Lesotho,
economically.
economically.
Yes.
There's very
But
little that I stand
heritage-wise,
to
But
gain.
heritage-wise,
But heritage-wise, there's a
there's
lot that I could gain.
Yeah.
But there's very much that Basotho can gain economically from South Africa.
By
That's why
embracing-
so many of you are this side. And that's not a problem. Right?
In fact-
and that free flow of ideas and concept would actually be good for everybody.
Yeah. From what you're saying, because the example that you use, Yamaju, there is a concerted effort to
That's home.
to bring.
our spiritual
yeah.
home.
And there's an understanding where, okay, some Jews are in America.
Yeah, but that's our
their
spiritual home.
niggas were displaced. It's understandable if but you're Jewish, bro. You know
That's
what I'm
home.
saying? And if you come back home, you're home.
That's home.
Whether you can speak Hebrew or not.
For example, you must see it in business. There was this businessman that I was thinking off top of my head. I think, is it Glencoe? He is Swiss. If you look at almost all the top business people, you've almost had this concept of they've got dual citizenship. The dual is always US. Because US, if you are bringing money, like Elon Musk,
Like Elon, yeah.
right? Go look at all top business people. They'll always have a US dual citizen because what they know is that America will always embrace innovation, will always embrace money.
Yeah, economics.
So if you were to say the same concept that one corner, how Lesotho, South Africa, doesn't matter as long as you identify as Sotho.
Yeah.
You have automatic citizenship. You can participate in the economy.
in the economy, in the country.
Right? That thing will turn this thing on its head because that's our home. We love it.
Yeah. You'd obviously want to build
Yeah.
there, bro.
And
You'd care for it. You'd want to build.
And the government has very little room to maneuver now because the voting base is so much higher. It's like how about, and you realize, oh man, this household is not being ran
proper.
the way hore man ne tlosa motho na ra kenyang tunang
Mama.
etsang wabo. But now like all this rich country, but most of the important means of production are in foreign hands.
Yeah.
You got the Chinese. The Afri-Ski is owned by white people. Because you've made it such a point to isolate yourself from everybody.
Yeah.
In the interest of your nationalism. But la sokola kara. But then that's
that's separate.
besides.
Yeah. But it's kind of sad, there's more effort into ensuring there's distinction than trying
cohesion.
to foster unity and cohesion. I mean, on letter. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's not.
It's sad, man.
It doesn't serve anyone. Like that line of thinking doesn't serve anyone.
Yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad.
But I understand it, but it doesn't serve anyone.
Yeah. That's what I pay. I'll dissect Dintla Askis.
No, Dinta's a very level-headed.
Yeah.
I'm sure she will
No,
take it.
and we dissecting the comment. I'm.
And then adding to that, lerata hu ipatla hampe. The same way African Americans look down on Africans, but will boldly claim I'm from the motherland.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting.
You lot do the same to us. Y'all have a superiority complex and are pretty ignorant about the culture you so claim to belong to. I disagree. I think it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. I
around.
totally disagreed.
It's the other way around. I mean, her entire thread
was superiority complex.
Was superiority.
Yeah. The entire time, okay, we are better. I'm not like you.
Yeah.
Watered down.
He even said that's why we make it a point.
We make it it's watered down. It's from them.
However,
bro.
on that point though, there are some nuances that I would like to acknowledge.
Yes.
Especially the parallel she draws with American.
Yeah, the motherland.
Which is true.
Yeah, which is
in
true.
terms of
yes.
Lerona, there's been times when we look at Beyonce, whatever, from a cultural appropriation, or you want the Kumbaya part of Africa. You don't want the trenches of Africa.
Word.
Right?
True.
When you come here, yes, you want the Lion Simba.
Yeah.
You want to associate with the Lion Simba of, you're not doing the hard work of saying, I actually want to know what is the true authentic African experience. So there I think she does have a point.
She has a point.
And she does have a point. Hannah it's like a connection a fashion yes. A lot of times how to heritage they give Mudianye or this, it's like we go more for the fluffy.
The fluffy one.
Yeah, we go more. So there I agree.
But at the same time I also want to go back to that whole metropolitan, urban, affluent black person thing, is that the ones that are speaking the loudest, right, about how, Americans are also ready to identify with Africa, but want to have nothing to do with the trenches.
With the trenches to
Even
Africa.
us that are talking from our intellectual point of view, from our educated opinions, also don't have anything to do with the trenches.
Yes.
We talk from a higher place.
Yeah, that's a hypocrisy there.
We're not on the ground, Lord.
Yeah, even the ones from Lesotho that are speaking the way that they do,
They're not in the trenches.
The supposed trenches that we're supposed to be part of in Lesotho, when you're speaking culturally or traditionally,
Libona
even they
bada.
themselves are not in those trenches.
Yeah. Abada libo.
It's very rare that you'll find the rural people having these kind of contentious opinions about who's who on either side of the border.
Because they're not out here on socials and shit.
Jesus, bro.
Think about that.
Yeah,
Is that
Yeah,
everybody?
we are all talking from this high
The people
point.
that are arguing are the same class of people, for lack of a better description.
And you might be bringing in a very interesting point, especially when you use like the example for a lack of a better word. I think when you're in an urban setting, like if you take somebody like None, for example, because he's the homie, we identify on so many other things, right? Like hip hop, fashion, and whatnot. It's almost as if by the fact that I was born in Lesotho, I therefore have cultural premium over you and superiority. So, and then they use that to almost like saying, what's about it doesn't matter that we all in Joburg, we all urban, but you know what? Nike Musot.
And I'm a better version than you.
So I'm a better because home is Lesotho and I am Musot.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, nigga, we the fucking same.
Word.
Which
Word.
makes me wonder how they perceive Basotho people from Free State that are as culturally inclined in a way as they are. Do they also
Like
see?
bomatatiele
Do they
jena.
also see an inferior when they look at those people?
Yeah.
Because ba
Yeah.
matatiele ke Basotho, Sotho, Sotho.
You know, do they also see the same? Because if I go to Matatiele or Manfletcher or any of those Basotho,
borderline.
Sotho, you see now, communities in the Eastern Cape
Yeah.
that are along the border, those people are very culturally inclined.
Yeah.
And they're very in touch with their roots. I just wonder how they perceive
them.
them.
I think it goes back to your question, Yahore. Because we are taking this through the lenses of young people on social media that are connected, is this really a representation of how
thing, yeah.
Basotho, Lesotho feel about Basotho?
Yeah, is it really a thing?
Yeah,
Because if I'm thinking about Manfletcher, Kia Manfletcher, you know, Dilaleng, Honala Badisa, hi, and most of Badisa Nabana they from Lesotho.
Most of the time, yeah.
And I look at the way in which they carry themselves in the village, and not once did I ever get an air of superiority complex from them.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
No, I don't get
Lena,
that.
I don't get it.
Ke bana ba tswang sekgoeng banana.
Where
That's
you
what I was
tell
trying to
them,
say, Hore. We could be making it a bigger problem than
Than it
really
actually
It
is.
actually is.
You, and I
Because
wanna,
I honestly, and if you really think about it, I've honestly never even heard it from anybody but us. I've never heard it from our parents, from any of my rural friends, associates, family. But it's us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's us, bro. It's
and
only,
we've
it's
got
only
helpers
us that
from
are having
Lesotho.
these
We don't-
conversations.
We don't.
So in actual fact, we might actually be speaking about something that's not even there.
Yeah.
Go- it's so minute in the bigger scheme of things, maybe.
And
Yeah.
happy, I think there's a lot that Mauricio you are saying, and then that maybe we are not crystallizing, but my thoughts kind of see it, but it's hard to verbalize. So, for example, I think there's something to be said about South Africa being seen as an economic superior to all these other smaller neighboring countries, right? Where generally we will have a superiority complex given the economic opportunities.
Yeah, that we
that
can.
how le motho wa Lesotho, mohlomong o tla South Africa, is that of course I am competing for opportunity with you in your backyard, because when we are here, but now the only other thing that I can have pride about, that I can hold on to, is the authenticity of where I'm from, and therefore I make it bigger than what it really is. And I go back to the thing and use the example, your uncles in the family, where if we are saying life is about prosperity, and you're like, you know, you've come, Josie, I've built my life, you know, and you're busy sweating me about this shit and telling me, no, a real man doesn't do this and this and this. I feel like, because you feel like economically, I'm way ahead of you, even in the absence of these things that you're saying I must do. So what you then do is that you
We
realize
get
that,
that out
so what you then realize is that, okay, I don't have bragging rights insofar as economy, because we come from a country maybe that is seen as more villagey or whatnot and whatnot. So if there's anything that I can actually get on your backside about, is that Oromsoto.
I'm so too.
Actually, I'm sold.
Aye.
Because now I feel like
Because
that's what I'm
that's the
bringing
only
to the
thing that
table.
you have over me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Papai.
Because that's what I'm bringing to the table. I'm like, oh, nigga, we both rocking Jordans, we both doing this. But you know what?
But I'm more
Yeah,
authentic.
your country is more progressive
Yeah,
than
weird.
mine. But your problem as a Mosotho wa South Africa, you have that hybrid dowry. Culturally, I still feel like you are from my home. Culturally. Ne? But geographically, I'm South African. Right? So now if I sit here with you, I feel like I've got two up against you. So, or Kimsot. But you're in my country because you are here for opportunity. Then what you do is like, nah, I'm going to denounce your Sotho-ness.
Yeah.
Because I feel like insofar as Sotho-ness comes,
I trump you.
Yeah, you can't say Mosotho.
Yeah, eh.
So I need to beat you at something.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, it's
That's a
sad.
lot of
bro.
nuance.
Yeah, it's sad, bro. It's sad. It's sad that we
Just give us dual citizen.
playing playing that frivolous game. You know what I'm saying? It's so fucking sad. But what's again? I'm happy actually. Ore Dintle came through with that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because now we can really we really got to
In
talk
fact,
about
we
it.
must have her on the show.
Yeah, or
Or a
anyone
store.
like Bokwin or whatnot.
Or a store.
Yeah, you know
No,
what I'm
Stora
saying?
is my nigga. You must have Stora.
Aye,
He hasn't been tweeting us.
yeah,
Stora.
yeah. I wanna,
Tweet us, nigga.
yeah, I wanna, like, I just liked the through the thought that Dinte, you know, Hanagwana, that when I read the thread, you know, put forward, and I thought there's something decent to discuss.
By the
you
way,
know?
just to draw Hana Rua ka Botswana and like Botswana versus that
Mafeking.
thing also happens in Xhosas because Xhosa is both a language and a tribe or a clan.
Yes.
So you've seen, I think Abatembu. They'd be like, I am not Xhosa. I'm Xhosa by language. Actually, the very thing that's happening with us now,
Yeah.
it happens in Xhosas because
Bareng.
there are Xhosas, because you know like King Daimano Utsubangai.
Yeah, come on.
Ki the king of Abatembu.
Abatem. Yeah.
But there's
You
also-
are nearly you are never mkwaletse. Yeah.
But there's also Xhosa kingdom. Then Amampondo mse. But by language, they identify as Xhosa.
Yeah.
So I do know that there are Xhosa speaking people that take offense as being classified as a Xhosa nation. Because they are only Xhosa by language.
By language, but not by nation.
By culture, by practices, they draw a line of Ndingumthembu, Ndilimpondo, Ndilimpondomise, and they hate being thrown with a blanket of all being Xhosa.
So Leona Mono who told distinction.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. They'll tell you, no, I'm not Xhosa. I'm Xhosa. I'm Xhosa speaking, but I'm not Xhosa by clan.
By clan,
It happens by colony that those politics.
Oh, word.
Like us as Basotho.
Jesus, man. Alright.
And then there's because then the Xhosa ones, the Xhosa speaking Xhosa clan or tribe, then take superiority. They have this stance of taking superiority because now they dominate their language. So when I come in, I'm Xhosa, like no, but all of you guys use is Xhosa. Then a guy who is Tembu, like Nelson Mandela was,
Yeah.
he's from a royal family. Like no, but we are not Xhosas.
By practice.
No, by clan.
By clan. Oh.
Or kingdom.
By kingdom.
By
Alright,
kingdom,
right.
Singabatembu. But we speak Xhosa because of whatever conquering whatever. Just like Lesotho, obviously. Okay, if you go double click down, kibo honale Baorosi, Baputi. Before like Basotho kaofela.
Kaofela, sure.
But
Sure.
you still find those Batlokwa.
Sure.
You still find those smaller communities that actually say. Le sona Sotho se re ka se hotela re batla. Hobane rona re Baputi.
Word.
But by language, we decided to classify all these things as Basotho.
Especially, Kimamang, they like to separate themselves. Bagolokwe.
Bagolokwe.
Oh,
Le Baputi ba e rata.
They like to separate themselves. from
Siputi is actually a language.
Oh, word.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying. When you now take it like down to the like lowest level, even in Harabasotho, you will still find those
Because really, Basotho is a
Oh, lady can put.
brown ones. I say Basotho. Does it come from that way?
yeah, but it's not necessarily a clan.
Yes.
And like
It's a
and
conglomeration.
It's a relatively modern concept. You know, it's a relatively modern concept where the people before King Mushweshwe were not referring to themselves as Basotho.
Like Zulus, it was
It
Amakumalo,
was just clans.
Yeah.
Amapata.
It's relatively new, and I think that within itself should actually speak to the extent to which culture and identity evolves over time.
Sure.
And if you were able to accept and come to terms with that transition, it shouldn't be hard for you to come to terms with the changes that are happening around you in
Because
the world.
then you wanted protection. It suited you.
Word, man.
You see, that's how I see like tradition and language, bro. There are some languages that have gone extinct. Some have stood the test of time. Some, what they have now are nothing like the versions that they were
Before.
100 or 200 or 300 years later. The cultures that we practice in today are nothing like what we used to practice back in the day.
Word.
You know, Lebullo, if you look at Lebullo was traditionally 6 months. It's now down to 1 month. It's now down to no Lebullo at all in a lot of communities.
Yeah.
You know, Mazolo, Nebabulla. you know.
Stop.
But the Zulu tyrants, you know, Bo Zwide or Shaka came in and they abolished that shit to establish military states.
Yeah.
In the place of, instead of sending the young men to the mountains, I'm gonna train young men to be warriors instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that tradition died out.
Yeah.
And that we're talking what, like less than 200-300 years ago.
Sure.
You know, and those traditions were able to die out.
Yeah, man.
And that abolishment of the practice has now become culture because haona mozola atla roma atla isa ngwana hae thabeng. It's not gonna happen. You see, and that's how culture and
evolves,
custom
bro.
Evolves. That's just how it happens.
Yeah.
It just so happens that, you know, those that are living within the present are so reluctant to embrace it, and I understand why. Like if you look at Afrikaner people right now, you know, they realize that it's so few of them.
Yeah.
That the moment balahla site, it's tickets.
It's gone, bro.
It's tickets.
That's why
that's why they have to fight so hard for it.
Yeah.
Afrikaners.
Yeah. That's why they have to fight so far. But they won't be the first culture or identity or language that has gone extinct over human history. They wouldn't be the first, and they wouldn't be the last. You know, there are many dialects that are dead in South Africa that used to exist before. I mean, we tried to kill, not us, the apartheid government tried to kill Balobedu. You know, by disregarding and ignoring their existence.
Yeah.
And they stood and they say, nah,
fuck this.
Fuck that. And you know, and I understand that ethnic pride to want to fight and keep your identity.
It's important, man. It's
important, but at the same time, man, when the tides are changing,
yeah, man. And
there's very little you can do to fight against.
You know, what are you fighting? You know what I'm saying? Like I wanna, because at a privileged level, I hate to see anything for cohesion. You know what I'm saying? Discuss on I'm saying on a privileged level because like we concluded, it's mainly
these urban
it's mainly these conversations that we are having at a privileged level that are causing this contention. You know, like how important is it for us going forward?
Amen.